It was a quiet evening. The sun was setting behind the hills, painting the sky in soft shades of orange and pink. Birds flew home. The air was calm. Inside his small wooden house at the edge of the forest, Jaren was sipping tea, alone as always. He had chosen this place for peace, far away from the noise of cities and even farther from memories he couldn't forget. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. Jaren looked up, confused. He wasn't expecting anyone. He placed the cup on the table and walked toward the door. A second knock followed, slower this time, like someone unsure of what they were doing. He opened it. There, standing under the fading sky, was a tall figure wrapped in a silver cloak. Her face was half covered by the hood, but Jaren didn't need to see more. He knew her instantly. "Sarala?" he whispered. She pulled back her hood, pale violet skin, shining blue eyes, and a calm, powerful presence. It was her. Queen Sarala, of Elmeria, the ruler of a distant alien empire and the one person he thought he would never see again. "I missed you so much, human," she said gently. "Let's go back." Jaren's heart stopped for a moment. The world felt like it paused. He had dreamed of her face so many times since they parted, but never imagined this. How are you here?" he asked, voice barely a breath. "Came through the old route, the one only a few know. I had to avoid being followed," she said. Her eyes were full of something rare for a queen, fear and longing. Jaren stepped aside, still in disbelief. She entered quietly, and he closed the door behind her. The room was small but warm. A fire crackled in the hearth. She looked around, taking in the place that had been his home for years. "I didn't think you'd really come," Jaren finally said, sitting down. "I shouldn't have," she replied, "but I couldn't stop myself." He watched her. She was older now, just as he was, but still held the same powerful grace. There had been a time long ago when they stood side by side. Jaren had been part of a human mission sent to Velmeria during a galactic crisis. He had saved her life once, and in that moment, something had changed between them. Something deeper than friendship, but impossible because of who they were, an alien queen and a human from Earth. "I thought you forgot me," he said. "I tried," she replied, looking at the fire. "But every time I closed my eyes, I saw your face. I saw the way you made my people laugh, the way you looked at the stars. I remembered everything." Jaren felt a lump in his throat. He had built this life to forget. But she had come back, and now the memories rushed in like a flood. "But why now?" he asked. "Why, after all these years?" Sarala turned to him. "Because everything is falling apart. The council is pushing for war. The peace we built is breaking, and I realized none of it matters without you. I don't want the throne. I don't want power. I want you." He didn't know what to say. The silence between them was heavy, but not uncomfortable. "I know you may not want to come back," she said softly. "But I had to try. Even if you said no, I had to see you again." Jaren looked at her for a long time. Outside, the stars were starting to appear. "Come," he said finally. "Sit. Tell me everything." She smiled. A real, gentle smile that lit up the room more than the fire. As she sat beside him, Jaren realized this was no dream. Sarala, the alien queen who once ruled the stars, had crossed galaxies, just to find him again. But something in her eyes warned him this was just the beginning. Sarala sat beside the fireplace, her hands resting calmly on her knees. The firelight reflected on her pale violet skin, and her eyes seemed lost in old memories. Jaren handed her a cup of tea, and she accepted it with a nod of thanks. "So much has changed," she said softly. He sat across from her, still trying to believe she was truly here. "You said the council is pushing for war. Why now? The treaty was strong, wasn't it?" She shook her head slowly. "After you left, everything began to shift. There were whispers, small attacks, broken trade deals. The council believes humans are growing too strong, too fast. They think Earth wants control of the stars." Jaren frowned. That's not true. Earth has only been defending itself. I know, Sarala said. But fear grows faster than truth. And without you there, no one speaks for humans. No one reminds them that we can be more than just allies. We can be something better. Jaren looked down at his cup, thinking about the time they had spent together on Velmaria. He wasn't just a guest on her planet. He had worked beside her, helped her during a great illness that had swept through her people. He had trained with her guards, studied her culture, and gained the trust of her people. But when the Human Council recalled him, he had no choice but to leave. I tried to write, he said, but nothing ever came back. They blocked your messages, she replied. They feared your influence. Some believed I had become too attached to a human. Jaren gave a dry laugh. And were they wrong? She smiled a little, but there was sadness in her eyes. No, they were right. I loved you, Jaren. I still do. The room grew quiet. Only the fire crackled. Jaren stared into the flames, his heart heavy. He had buried those feelings for years, telling himself it was just a story from another life. I missed you too, he said finally. But I stayed here because it was the only place I didn't feel pulled in every direction. She nodded, slowly. And yet, you still look toward the stars. He smiled faintly. Old habit. Suddenly a soft sound echoed outside, like the hum of a machine cutting through the wind. Jaren stood up and walked to the window. His eyes narrowed. Small black drone floated just above the tree line, its red eye blinking. Sarala stood quickly. They found me. Who? Jaren asked. The Royal Enforcers. They were ordered to track any high-energy signature near Earth's orbit. I tried to hide my arrival, but... Jaren cursed under his breath. How long before they come? Minutes. Maybe less. He moved fast. There's a path behind the house. We can run. No, Sarala said. I won't run anymore. I came here with a choice, and I'm making it now. He looked at her in shock. They'll arrest you. Maybe worse. She stepped closer, her eyes strong and clear. I'm not their queen anymore. I came for you. Not for the crown. Let them come. I'll face them. But I won't leave your side again. Jaren stared at her, speechless. Outside, the drone zipped away, sending its signal to the sky. Above the clouds, unseen by Earth's people, a silent ship moved into position. It belonged to the Velmarian Empire, and it was ready to retrieve its lost queen. Inside the cabin, Sarala stood tall, her silver cloak falling behind her like royal armor. If this is the end, she said, then I want it to be with you. Jaren stepped forward. No, this isn't the end. He opened the door and looked into the darkness outside. We faced them together. The night air outside was cold and still. Jaren stood at the edge of his porch, eyes scanning the forest. Beside him, Sarala stood silently, her hands by her sides, waiting. The hum of engines slowly filled the air. Then they appeared. 3 tall figures walked out of the shadows, dressed in dark, smooth armor with glowing symbols across their chests. Their helmets were shaped like sharp wings, covering their faces completely. They moved with precision like trained soldiers. Velmarian enforcers. The one in front spoke, his voice deep and mechanical. Queen Sarala of Velmaria, you are ordered to return with us. Immediately. Jaren stepped forward. She's not your queen anymore. The enforcer turned his head toward Jaren. This is not your concern, human. Step aside. Sarala placed her hand gently on Jaren's arm, then stepped forward herself. I will not return with you. My place is no longer in the palace. I came here by choice, and I will not leave. You break the council's law, the lead enforcer replied. You have no right to choose this path. Sarala raised her head. Hi. Then take my title. Take my power. I don't care. I gave my heart to someone long ago. I've come to honor that. The enforcers paused. Even behind their helmets, it was clear they were surprised. One of them looked toward the trees, perhaps expecting more orders from the hidden ship above. Jaren stepped beside her again. She's telling the truth, and she's not alone. The lead enforcer's voice grew colder. You would throw away your throne. For him? Sarala looked at Jaren. Her voice was calm but firm. Yes. The silence between the two sides grew tense. Then, without warning, the third enforcer lifted a hand, and a bright circle of light formed in his palm. A capture field. Jaren reacted, quickly. He pulled Sarala back and the field hit the ground where she had just been standing. I said she's not going anywhere, Jaren shouted. The lead enforcer raised a hand. Enough! But before another move was made, a fourth figure appeared behind the soldiers. She was smaller, unarmed, and wore a silver robe. Her face was not covered by a helmet. Stand down, she said. The enforcers immediately froze. Jaren and Sarala looked at the new arrival. Sarala's eyes widened in recognition. Commander Ayen? The woman gave a soft nod. Yes, my queen. Or should I say, Sarala. Sarala stepped forward. Why are you here? Ayen looked at her with a mixture of respect and sorrow. The council feared you would leave forever. They sent us to bring you back, but I watched what you did tonight. You stood without fear. You chose peace. You chose love. I chose him, Sarala said. Ayen smiled faintly. Then I won't stop you. The enforcers looked confused but obeyed the silent command in Ayen's voice. Sarala lowered her head slightly. They'll replace me. The council won't be pleased. I know, Ayen replied. But maybe that's what they need. A reminder that even a queen has the right to follow her heart. Jaren felt a wave of relief. But he knew it wasn't over. What happens now? He asked. Ayen looked at both of them. The council will not forget this. They may come again, harder, angrier. But for now, go. Leave Earth before more eyes turn to you. Sarala nodded. Thank you, Ayen. With a small bow, Ayen turned and walked back into the forest, her soldiers silently following behind her. The night swallowed them whole. Jaren and Sarala stood alone once more. You still want to go back? He asked. Sarala looked up at the stars. Not to the throne, but to my people. They need to see a new way. One not built on fear, but on hope. Jaren smiled. Then let's show them. They turned together, heading back inside to prepare for the journey ahead. The stars waited. The house was quiet again, but the silence felt different now. Jaren sat near the fireplace, deep in thought. Sarala stood by the window, watching the stars. The warmth of the fire touched their skin, but both of them felt something else. Something stronger. Outside, the forest was still. No more drones. No more soldiers. You can still stay here, Jaren said quietly. We can disappear. Live a peaceful life. No war, no council. Sarala turned to him, her eyes soft but steady. I would love that. But the truth is, running away won't stop what's coming. Velmaria is on the edge, and Earth may be next. I can't sit back and watch the galaxy fall into darkness. Jaren leaned forward, his hands clasped. So, what do? We go back, she said. But not to rule, we go back to change things, together. He looked up at her. Do you think they'll listen to us? They won't at first, she admitted. But we won't be alone. People remember what we stood for. They remember you. Jaren raised an eyebrow. Me? I was just a human guest, a helper. No, Sarala said, walking closer. You brought light to a place filled with fear. You treated my people as equals. You made them laugh. You gave them hope. Jaren smiled sadly. I didn't know I mattered that much. You did. You still do, she said. Then she reached out and took his hand. And I don't want to face what's coming without you. He held her hand, gently, feeling the warmth of her fingers, so different from his own, yet familiar. Then let's do it, he said. Let's go back and fix this. Sarala nodded. But first, we need to prepare. We can't just walk in without a plan. Jaren stood, I kept the old files, the ones from our missions, maps, data, communication logs. We might find something useful. They moved to the small storage room in the back of the house. Jaren opened a steel case, untouched for years. Inside were old digital tablets, memory, chips, and a dusty patch bearing the Earth-Velmaria Alliance symbol. Sarala picked it up and smiled. I remember when we wore these. Feels like another lifetime, he said. They worked through the night. Jaren organized the data while Sarala sent a coded message to an old friend within Velmaria, someone she hoped still supported her. It was risky, but they needed allies. By morning, the plan was ready. They would return to Velmaria not as rulers or soldiers, but as messengers of peace. They would go to the people first, not the council. If they could win the hearts of the people again, change might be possible. As the sun rose, painting the sky gold, Sarala stepped outside to her hidden ship in the forest clearing. It was a small vessel, sleek and quiet, designed for stealth. Jaren followed, carrying a small bag with essentials and the old data devices. Are you sure? He asked once more. Sarala turned to face him. I've never been more sure of anything. He smiled. Then I'm with you. All the way. They entered the ship. The controls lit up softly as Sarala placed her hand on the scanner. The engines hummed to life, lifting them gently off the ground. Jaren looked down through the window, watching his home shrink beneath them. The forest, the hills, the quiet life. He whispered, Goodbye, Earth. Sarala reached for his hand. We'll come back, but only when things are right. The ship broke through the clouds and soared into the black sea of stars. Together they left behind a simple life to face an uncertain future. Not for power, not for duty, but for the hope of peace between two worlds, and for each other. The ship moved quietly through space. Jaren sat by the window watching stars pass like shining lines. Sarala was at the controls, focused, but calm. It had been many years since she piloted a ship herself, but her hands still moved with skill. Will we go straight to the capital? Jaren asked. Sarala shook her head. No, too dangerous. The council has guards at every major station. We'll land on the outer colony first, Maris 1. It's where my mother's people lived. They still remember me. Jaren nodded. And if they support us, we build from there? Yes, she said. One voice is not enough, but many voices can break the silence. As the ship approached Velmarian space, the stars around them began to shift. The energy fields in the region glowed faint blue, a natural sign that they had crossed the old border of the Empire. Sarala took a deep breath. We're home. Jaren looked at her, noticing the mix of hope and worry in her face. Does it feel like home? Not yet, she whispered. Suddenly, the ship's screen blinked red, an incoming signal. A voice came through, deep and commanding. Unidentified vessel, you have entered Velmarian space. Send your identification code or you will be intercepted. Sarala quickly entered an old diplomatic code, one that hadn't been used in years. The screen went silent for a moment. Then came a softer voice. Queen Sarala? Jaren leaned forward. They recognized you. The reply was cautious. Is this truly you, my queen? Sarala spoke clearly. Yes, this is Sarala of Velmaria. I travel with a human guest. We come in peace. A pause. Then, the voice returned. You are cleared for landing on Maris 1, but be warned, the council watches everything. The ship landed hours later on a small green world covered with rivers and crystal trees. People gathered at the spaceport, staring in disbelief as the ramp lowered and Sarala stepped out. An old woman rushed forward, her eyes filled with tears. My queen, we thought you were lost forever. Sarala took her hands gently. I was lost, but I found the path again. Jaren stood behind her, unsure how the crowd would react to him, but the old woman smiled at him warmly. You must be the human, the one we've heard stories about. He smiled back. I hope they were good stories. They were, she said. You're welcome here. By evening, they were in the town hall. Sarala stood before a crowd of citizens. Some wore traditional robes, others simple worker clothes, but all listened with deep respect. She told them the truth, about the council's growing hunger for war, about her decision to leave, and her wish to unite the stars through peace, not power. I do not seek the throne again, she said. I seek your hearts. I seek your voice together with mine. There was silence. Then a man stood. He wore a farmer's coat, and his hands were rough from work. You brought hope once, he said. If you ask for it again, we will follow. One by one, people stood and nodded. The room filled with soft cheers and quiet tears. Some hadn't seen her in years, but they still believed in her. Later that night, Jaren and Sarala sat on the roof of a quiet building watching the moonlight reflect off the river. You still think this will work? He asked. She leaned her head on his shoulder. It has to, he smiled. Then we take the next step. In the distance, a signal beacon lit up. Someone had sent a message to the capital. The council would soon know she had returned, and war or peace would depend on what they did next. The next morning, Sarala stood near the riverbank while the sky of Maris 1 turned to pale gold. Birds sang in the trees and villagers moved about their day. But peace would not last. Jaren joined her, holding a small communicator. The council sent a message. Sarala looked at him. What did they say? He read the words aloud. Queen Sarala, you are to return to the capital immediately. You are not allowed to travel without the council's permission. Your current actions are seen as rebellion. You have 72 hours to surrender. Sarala nodded calmly. Just as I expected. Jaren frowned. They called you a rebel. They fear change, she said. They fear I'll show the people a better way. That's why they want to silence me. Jaren paced. What do we do now? They might send ships. Sarala turned to face him. Then we show them we're not afraid. That day, she gathered the village again. She told them about the council's warning and what it meant. But instead of panic, her words inspired strength. I will not run, she said to the people. I will not fight them with weapons either. I will stand with truth. If they wish to take me, they will have to do it in front of you all. Let the galaxy see who they truly are. The people clapped and nodded. Some even offered to spread her message to nearby colonies. Hope was spreading fast. Jaren met Sarala later in the garden behind the council hall. He watched her gently touch the petals of a glowing blue flower. You've changed, he said softly. Sarala smiled. You helped me change. You made me see the stars not just as places to rule, but as homes to protect. Jaren walked closer. We're doing something big here, something dangerous. I know, she whispered. But I'm not afraid. Not anymore. That night they sent out a wide transmission. It was simple. Sarala stood in front of the Velmarian banner and spoke with honesty. To the citizens of Velmaria and the worlds beyond, I am Sarala, once your queen. I stepped away because I could not serve a council that forgot compassion. I return now not to take power but to bring peace. If you believe in a better future, stand with me. The message went viral across multiple colonies. Screens lit up in cities and spaceports. Ships halted to listen. People remembered her kindness, her strength, and the strange human who stood by her side. The council, however, was furious. By the next morning, a small fleet of ships had arrived in Maris 1's orbit. Soldiers in dark armor began to land near, the forest line blocking roads and entrances. Jaren watched from the village tower. They're here. Sarala stood ready, wearing a simple white robe, not her royal outfit. She walked to the village center with Jaren beside her. People gathered behind them, silent but strong. A tall figure stepped out from the lead ship. His name was Challer, one of the high lords of the council. His eyes were cold, and his voice carried anger. Sarala, he said, you are hereby under arrest for spreading rebellion. She did not move. I have done nothing but speak the truth. You are a traitor to Velmaria, Challer replied. And that human beside you, he's an outsider who has no right to stand here. Jaren spoke clearly. I have every right. I stood with her people when others turned away. I came back because your people asked for peace. Challer's hand moved to his belt where a control device glowed. You're done speaking. But before he could act, a group of villagers stepped forward, placing themselves between the soldiers and Sarala. Then more came, young, old, workers and elders, all forming a wall of peace. Challer stared in disbelief. You think this will protect you? Sarala looked at him calmly. No. But it will show the galaxy who is truly afraid. The soldiers hesitated. Even they didn't want to hurt innocent people. Challer gave a frustrated command. Fall back. We report to the council. The ships lifted again. Sarala and Jaren stood surrounded by people, not an army, but something far stronger. A movement. The night after the council soldiers left was quiet, but no one in the village slept. Fires burned gently in the corners of the square, and small groups of people sat together, whispering and watching the stars. Sarala and Jaren sat on the steps of the council hall side by side, looking up into the sky where the enemy ships had just flown away. They will come again, Jaren said quietly. Yes, Sarala replied, but next time, they won't find us alone. News of the peaceful resistance on Maris I had spread quickly. Across the Velmarian Empire, colonies started sharing the message. People who had once feared the council were now standing together, asking for peace. Some even began flying banners that read, "We remember Sarala." In the days that followed, more ships arrived, but they didn't come to arrest anyone. They came with support. Doctors, engineers, teachers, people who believed in the message Sarala had shared. A former royal advisor named Doran came from a nearby moon and brought something important: copies of the council's hidden plans. He had once served them but now believed they had gone too far. These files show that the council has been planning war with Earth for years, Doran said. They wanted to make it look like Earth attacked first. Jaren's eyes darkened. So they were going to start the war and blame us. Sarala stood. Then this is more than just my return. It's a fight for truth. With the documents, they sent out another galaxy-wide message. This time, Sarala stood with Doran and Jaren. She spoke firmly. The council has lied. They would throw the galaxy into war to keep their power. But the people have a choice now. You can follow fear or you can follow hope. The message caused a storm. Protests rose on many planets. Members of the council resigned. Ships once loyal to the throne now turned and flew toward Maris I, not to attack, but to protect. Eventually, the council sent a final message to Sarala. If you step foot in the capital, you will be arrested. She looked at the screen and answered simply, then prepare my cell. 2 days later, Sarala's ship landed in the royal square of Velmaria's capital. Jaren walked beside her, calm but alert. Thousands of citizens filled the streets, many wore white ribbons to show peace. No one was armed. When Sarala stepped out of the ship, she saw rows of guards. But none moved forward. One of them, a young captain, saluted and stepped aside. We're done following orders that go against the people. Inside the council hall, only 4 of the 12 chairs were filled. The rest were empty, abandoned by members who had fled or stepped down. High Lord Challer was still there. He stood as Sarala entered. You come here with rebels and traitors. I come with truth, Sarala replied. And I come with the voice of the people. Jaren stepped forward and placed the files on the central table. These show everything. The secret plans, the lies, the forced silence. Challer's face turned pale. He knew the files were real. Sarala faced the room. You once called me queen. Now I ask you to listen as citizens. End this war plan. Let Velmaria heal. Let us build something new, with Earth and with each other. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then, slowly, the youngest council member stood. I support her. Another followed. Then another. Challer walked out without a word. That night, Sarala stood on the balcony of the old palace, not as a queen, but as a voice of peace. Jaren stood behind her proud. Lights filled the city. Bells rang, and the people cheered, not for power, but for peace. "You did it," Jaren whispered. "No," she said, smiling. "We did." She turned to him, her voice soft. "When I came to Earth, I only knew one thing: I missed you so much. And now I know. I came back not just for love, but to make things right." Jaren took her hand. "So, what happens next?" Sarala looked out at the stars. "Now we rebuild, together. And, under the light of twin moons, a new chapter began, for a world once ruled by fear, now guided by hope."